All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to believe everybody here, HR professionals, so good evening, professionals. My name is Adirele Amusu, and myself and Mr. Oluyemi Adeosun will be taking us through this topic that we've both come up together. A little background, this is a paper Mr. Oluyemi wrote, and I looked at the paper and it was something I was very passionate about, considering it's one of those innovations in reward management that I'm passionate about and I've been wanting to push for. This includes, just going outside the traditional um, ways of reward management, what we are used to, right, to something that we've never heard of before. And before we get to that part, that a lot of things that as business partners, because one thing I tell about people that as an HR person, you are not just the human resources, you're not doing hiring and firing, you're not just about performance management. What you are is a key stakeholder to the business itself. Without us, the business would not move, either through getting the right people for the job or just keen into the visions of the organization. Um, we hear a lot of HR is never put on the table when decisions are made, and that's because we ourselves are not we don't think strategically. HR needs to move from just being an operational department to being a strategic partner to the organization itself. So, once again, good afternoon. I will be talking about aligning rewards with goals, and inclusive compensation strategy. Some of the things that we're going to be looking at, as highlighted on the screen, uh, would include, understanding innovative objectives, the approaches, generative AI in the workplace, leveraging technologies to drive innovation, employee engagement motivation, collecting career growth with talent priorities, um, a background of the inclusive competition strategies. So, what are the strategies that we are talking about? The importance of technology in compensation, the challenges that the traditional reward compensation models have, how we can now leverage technology in compensation, creating compensation model for innovation, strategic compensation elements, personalized rewards, which is the part I'm very more passionate about, which is something that I said I've always wanted to do, and ensuring fairness and equality, and then benchmarking and market insights. So these are the things we'll be looking at in the course of this. Um, so like I said, myself, I'll be taking this. It's only me pitching in, where necessary. So please, how we want this to go, we don't want so much interruptions. But please, if I'm going too fast, kindly draw me back. If I'm going too slow, you can also give us a nudge. I would prefer if most of the questions are noted down, and at the end of this session, we'll take them one after the other. Okay. All right. Can I get a thumbs up if you're all with me? A thumbs up is fine from anyone. All right. Thank you very much, Victoria. Thank you very much. All right. So let's go. Aligning rewards with innovation goals. So what do we mean by aligning rewards with innovation goals? Basically, these days, I'm not going to read so much of this. This is all prose, but we'll talk about that later. So what we are talking about basically is these days organizations are no longer doing business as usual, right? Because we've gotten to a place where there's a lot of globalization in the things we do. It's no longer, oh, this is how we do it in Nigeria. It's different from how you do it in the USA, or how it's done in the health sector is also how it's going to be done in the financial sector. There are quite a number of similarities. However, there are also differences. So we're going to touch on what those differences are. But the thing that ties all of these things together is technology. Is your organization adapting to the new technologies that are in place? Are they still working with old traditional methods? Are your decision making very subjective or your objective? Now, the only way your decision makings will be very objective is if you have mechanisms in place, right, that aids in your decision making. And one of those things is technology. Either technology in driving recruitment, either technology in monitoring performances, either technology in the day-to-day activities of the organization. Technology is very, very important. Now, what are some of the things that some of the things that we're talking about here? The use of communication and collaborative tools. Now, these days, nobody is doing the regular send memos via paper, right? Most communications, the most traditional one we have is emails. However, in most tech companies, they go beyond emails. You have things like Slack. You have Slack channels. So you have your company channel. Then you have individual channels. Maybe it's project based, whether it's department based, and that way there's a lot of flow of information, right? Then you also have a Google Workplace where all the company's processes, procedures, operations are kept in the central drive. For people whose organization don't use Google and use Microsoft, right? There's the OneDrive for Microsoft, right? There's so many of them. Now, those play a very important factor when it comes to collaboration and communication. Another technological, well, I won't call this technology, but it kind of aids it is remote work and flexibility. Now, I can be working for a Nigerian company and be residing in Kenya, right? But because we rely a lot on technology to do our work, right? I don't need to be in the four walls of an organization for me to do what is required of me. Also, automating processes and efficiency by reducing man hours spent on doing regular tasks. For instance, you don't need to have an attendance book at the reception and people are signing in, and then HR will come at 9 o'clock and then use a ruler and say these are people that came late. No, you have time clocking machines that can do that for you, right? So at the end of the month, you generate a report easy, quick of a few button strokes, and then you get your reports, right? Other things will also include your day-to-day runnings of your performance management. Nobody's carrying paper up and down to say you fail, then take it. No, you have you have a lot of performance management tools out there that you can just at the click of a button, right? Your performance management is activated. Everybody gets a mail that quarter one appraisal is about to start, and then touch button, you move on. Then dependency on data analysis and decision making, which it provides insights and aids informed decisions. Now, depending on the HRIs you use in your organization, right? The very good ones like Bamboo HR, like Seamless HR. I'm not trying to sell anybody's market here. However, these guys have a lot of data analytics. As long as you key in the right information into the system, whatever data you're looking for is there. You want to see the percentage of male to female is there. You want to see those who had who are supposed to fit within your talent matrix, fit the appraisal. You see all those things there, right? Now, because of you have a report that is generated, and it is not the human, putting these things in. The system will generate it for you. You make better decisions. You make more informed decisions that way, right? As against being subjective and say, what do you think about this person? Or who should be promoted? This person should be promoted because I think he's been here longer. No, it's no longer a case of who has spent longer in the organization, but who is providing value. We also have virtual reality and augmented reality-based e-learning platforms. A lot of trainings these days are not your classroom trainings, right? Some HRSs come with learning platforms, and then you have other organizations buying, you buying a whole module for the organization. You have your Coursera's, right? That you can buy a whole as many as 2,000 courses, right, for your organization. Also, protecting valuable company information by investing in cybersecurity. For this part, right, cybersecurity is something that most organizations are really investing in because one, the type of information that the organization has. You could be in pharmaceutical or the healthcare, for instance, and you've got a groundbreaking technology, right? If your data is not protected or well protected, right? Anybody can just come in, steal your product, and go and make either a quasi model of your information, right? Or do something better. And that way, if you don't even protect your data, someone else does something better and you lose your customers. Also, promoting employee well-being through digital health platforms. The good HMOs out there right now are no longer just sending you their cards and say you can go to HMO. Leadway, a few of them on your phone. You can visit a doctor, right? You can set appointments, right? And then get even your medicines delivered to you. Now, those are some of the things that uh excuse me, technology plays, right, in the organization. So that's it for the introduction. Let's go straight into the meat of the discussion itself. Oh, we missed out one, global connectivity. Yes, global connectivity. That also ties to, the other things that we talked about in the beginning. Now, when you rely on technology and you use technology to make informed decisions, there are so many factors or there are so many advantages or results that you get. One is you attract top talents. And imagine you hear about an organization that they solely rely on technology. Because of that, people are really happy. You want to go to that organization. There are so many of them. A lot of the multinationals that we tend to want to work for these days, it's simply because they've adapted this model. We've said, no, technology is what we're going to rely on for most of our decision making. And because of that, they're able to attract people. Then employee engagement. The employees there are satisfied with the results because information is open for everybody to see. Everybody knows that, oh, HR is going to release an analytic for best performing for the month. You see it, January, February, March. Automatically at the back of everybody's brain, by December, everybody know who is going to be staff of the year, right? Also, you're going to be cultivating a culture of innovation because people who rely on technology also rely on their people to bring in new ideas to help with the growth of the organization. Now, one of the things that I tell people, in most of the people that I mentor, for instance, is, oh, I've been working, but I'm not recognized. And I always ask this question: what have you provided? What innovations, what novel ideas have you contributed to the organization? Now, when you contribute to your organization and the organization in turn implements those ideas you brought in, and those ideas generate revenue, definitely you would be recognized, right? And then it creates healthy competition within the organization. Now, when there's healthy competition, now when I say healthy competition, I don't mean everybody's fighting for, no, healthy competition simply means that everybody's bringing an idea, everybody's working towards a certain goal. If your company is making more money, you can use that to renegotiate whatever you are earning, right? That's what innovation does. Then there's the competitive edge, right? The organization who relies on technology is better than the organization who is paper-based. Why? Because the paper-based one is basically subjective results, subjective decisions. But the organization who relies on technology is very objective because the data is there. There is adaptability and resilience. Now, you are going to definitely going to be better when you rely on technology. Once there's a change, because you have data, your data is going to predict the trends in the changing market, right? And the moment you see there's a change in the market, you adapt to it. And companies who easily adapt to change are resilient. Those are the companies that you hear that they've been around for 50 years. Simply because for every time there has been a change, they have adapted to that change and they have been better. Then you retain your talent. You're retaining talent because you're doing something, good, right? I'm recognizing my people. Immediately I notice that this person is bringing in novel ideas. Immediately I'm increasing the person's salary, or I'm recognizing the person for higher positions. If I'm doing that continuously, what I'm doing unconsciously is building this person within a pipeline as a successor for maybe someone who is going to japa, or someone who is going to attain resignation, right? But I'm building a pipeline. That way, I'm going to be retaining my talents. Then I'm also going to position myself as a leader in the market I am operating in. If you take, for instance, 5 different banks in Nigeria and you list them out, you see that there are some that you see their names always at the top. Okay, no problem. You see some names at the top simply because they have positioned themselves as market leaders. And the reason why they are market leaders is simply because of how they rely on technology, how they develop their people to ensure that they stay relevant. And then continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is always hammered. I always hammer it. Don't always do, even if it works for you today, even if it's the winning formula can never work for you forever. And if you don't change, which is where adaptability and resilience it comes in. If you're saying because it works for me during this period, and another period or dispensation comes in, and you don't see an opportunity you can take advantage on, another company would come and improve on your existing policies and be better than you. So you always have to continue. You always have to continue. You need to keep improving yourself. You need to keep finding model ways to ensure that you are on top of your game. No. Excuse me. Oh yeah, so let me saying that on the comment section, please drop your names and where you're chatting from, so we can recognize you at the end of this. Okay, so let's continue. Sorry, I'm trying to, let me use my screen. Do you mind making me so I can share my screen, sir? So I don't disturb you.
Yeah, you are co-host.
I'm the co-host. Oh,
But it's
okay.
okay.
Okay. I wanted to share my screen. All right. So let's talk
So
about,
make it full screen.
yeah, I've
It's
done
not
that.
full screen.
It's not full screen. Is it full screen now?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, apologies. I have a little cough. Okay, so we're going to talk about, what we call innovation objectives, right? So I'll just read through and then I'll explain. So diverse nature of innovative objectives, right? Innovation objectives differ significantly among industries and organizations due to variations in business models, market dynamics, and strategic priorities. What constitutes innovation in technology, for example, may differ from innovation in manufacturing or service-oriented industries. So if you remember at the beginning, I said that there are some things that are similar. HR is similar everywhere, right? You do the same thing. Recruitment, performance management, you do change management, quite a lot is similar. But then a few of the things you'll be doing will differ, right? The HR in a tech company will be different from the HR in a sales-driven company, for instance, right? The technologies that you will use in those industries will equally also vary, right? So one of these things you need to recognize in when you're trying to create innovation is you need to understand what market you are playing in first. right? Are the technologies currently used, are they relevant to your market? If they're not relevant to your market, what do you do about it? You need to change. Which takes us to the next step, which is industry-specific challenges and opportunities. So you need to understand, the innovative objectives involves recognizing the unique challenges and opportunities within a specific industry. So, in a sales-driven organization, let's say pharmaceutical, for instance, what are the unique challenges there? In a bank, what are the unique challenges there? Right. So you need to recognize those challenges, right? And you need to understand the opportunities that those challenges are going to bring for you. For instance, a technology company may prioritize product innovation, while healthcare organization may focus on process improvement and patient care innovation, right? So there's similarities, but however, because of the industries they play in, there'll be a lot of the similarities. Strategic alignment with business goals. Remember, I said it, HR shouldn't be an operational department anymore. HR now needs to think more strategically. So, innovative objectives are intricately linked to broader business goals and strategies. HR's understanding of these objectives ensures that compensation strategies are aligned within the organization's overarching mission and vision. An example, if I work in, say, a logistics organization, right? Who am I going to be paying more attention to when it comes to compensation? Am I paying attention to the logistics guys, or am I paying attention to, say, the tech guy that is within the IT guy that is within the organization? Anyone wants to take that response? I work for a logistics company. Who do I tend to pay more attention to in terms of compensation and whatnot? The frontline logistics person or the IT guy? Any takers? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yes, so Victoria has responded. Victoria says the tech guys,
The what?
the tech guys.
Okay, so Victoria, let's rub minds. Why do you think I will pay the IT guy more than the frontline logistics person?
So if you want to speak, in case you don't want to type, if you raise your hand, we'll unmute you and
Where's
give
your
you
answer that we can
access to
unmute you?
speak.
Yes.
So, yeah. So Moni also says the IT guys. So quite a number of people in the chat message agree that it's the IT or tech guys.
It's the IT or tech guys. But I might want to disagree with you, right? Now, I said IT, not tech, because I understand where you people are coming from. You people might be coming from the point that the tech guys will be able to create a platform. Now, let's also understand that there's a difference between IT, which is just information technology, and tech or core tech. Do you understand? So why the tech guys that you are referring to might be those guys who are creating the enabling platform on which the logistics company would provide services, right? The IT guy could just simply be the guy who is just setting up your laptop and your emails, which in this case I'm referring to. But I'll focus more on, in this case, I'll focus more on the frontline logistics guys. These are the guys that are going to be handling the customer. So these are the guys that I'll focus my training on, because these are the guys that my customers are seeing, right? These are the guys that I'll likely want to adjust their pay in a way that they won't have to steal from me, the organization. Do you understand? So moving on, customization for organizational needs. Recognizing the diversity of innovation goals enables HR to tailor compensation strategies to the specific needs and aspiration of the organization. So if, for instance, it's a new organization, right, and you want to come up with compensation strategies, but you are coming up with pay grades, you need to understand that market. You need to do a lot of research into what are my competitors paying, who are the major stakeholders within this organization, who are the guys that I'll likely have to spend more money developing, training or even paying. There's some people that you might spend more money on their salaries and not necessarily their training. There's some people that you spend more money training them and not necessarily pay them more, which is why we're talking about you need to tailor it, right, to specific roles. Now, customization ensures that the rewards are directly aligned with the types of innovations that contribute most to the organization's success. You also have what you call learning organizations. Now, learning organizations are organizations that um, as they go on year and they have new technologies or they have new uh, um, inventions, right? They need to tweak. So you have people within organizations that notice. So in most companies, they call them project managers or product developers. Now, those guys, most product developers these days are the ones that, especially organizations where they give a lot of bonuses to people who bring in new ideas or help with the process improvements. It's the product managers that usually enjoy this feat. And that's because these guys, whenever a product comes out and they do what you call a UI or UX testing, they can automatically see the threats. They can automatically see the dangers that they might face. Or, oh, by the time we get to market, these are the things that the problems we will encounter. And immediately they are already solving those problems, right? Immediately these guys are solving those problems. Now, you create, if you want other people to benefit from this type of things, you say, okay, form think tanks. My organization will have think tanks. We're not going to leave process improvement to our product team. We're not going to leave it to our sales team. Everybody should be part of a think tank. And people now, you tell each think tank to focus on each product of the organization and see what new ideas they can generate. And then you form like a compensation package around that and you pay people. You see that a lot of things that even you, the CEO, have not noticed or can't notice, your employees will notice them and you reward them for it. At the end of the day, when you push these things to the market, it's revenue for you. So I'm moving
So
on.
then let me just
Yes,
come in here
okay, sir.
and do a few slides so that you can also catch your breath. Now, I'm sure one or two people may be wondering that so far we've been speaking around technology, we've been speaking around data, speaking around innovation, and it's very, very intentional. You know, I've said this a couple of times where I had opportunity to engage with colleagues, senior and contemporaries, that all the domain areas in HR are intertwined. So there is no way you can, for example, teach compensation and benefits in isolation to all the other critical domains in HR. And you will see that my colleague and brother really had focused on perhaps the most important domain in HR, which is the business itself, the business strategy. Just like, things like employee engagement, learning and development. But the starting point is the business strategy. And when he was asking about the IT guy, and then of course we brought in the tech guy, and then the logistics guy, and I'm happy quite a number of us got that understanding that what is the business? The business here is what? Logistics. Now, except the IT guy has been in logistics for a while and has put his mind
Hello. Okay, I think we lost Oluyemi there. So what Oluyemi is trying to say is that you need to understand, if there's one thing that everybody needs to understand here, right, is that as intertwined as all the HR functions are, right, um, technology is one thing that we need to rely on. So when I keep saying technology, when I keep saying technology, is because I want there to be a paradigm shift from how we used to think before. Sorry, I don't know. Okay, how we used to think before to how we should be thinking now. So at the objective for me is at the end of this lecture, right? We need to all go back to say, okay, how have I been doing it in my organization? And how can I help my organization be better? You might get a little pushback because relying on technology is not going to be easy. No HRIS that I know right now, even the ones that are being done in Nigeria, is cheap. But think about the long-term investments, right? That you would benefit by the time you invest in technology. Okay, so let's move on. So part of the objective is basically is also employee engagement and motivation, right? Employee engagement and motivation. Now, when you clearly communicate the reasons why you are changing some of some of your models, right? Which is where change management comes into play. When you communicate those things to people, people understand and you let them know, oh, this is what we are trying to do. This is what we want to achieve. Everybody has a clear picture of where the organization is going, right? So there's no ambiguity of why HR brought up this new thing. Nobody said, the way we're doing it was good. Why are they changing a winning formula? A winning formula would never work forever, right? Now, the agility in response to industry trends. Now, biggest example, COVID, right? Whoever thought that people could work from home in 2019, like that people could work from home? Whoever thought that people can work in another country? Meanwhile, the main company is a different country. But for the very first time, something negative brought about a positive. Whether you were in healthcare, whether you were in financial institution, whether you were in logistics, whether you were in tech, everybody adapted immediately. Yes, some companies could not adapt, and then some shut down, right? And that would be quite a number of people. But then a lot of people adapted immediately, and that is because most of the companies that adapted have what you call a business continuity plan. And a business continuity plan simply means is, in the event of XYZ, what do we do? Some companies even have business continuity plans that says, in the event all our top management happens to go on a retreat and on their way back, all of them dies, what happens? Some companies have such strict continuity plans. Or the office burns down today, what happens? That's why these days a lot of persons are saving their documents on cloud. So your Google Warehouse is a cloud, your OneDrive is a cloud. Some even have clouds that are outside. So what they do is, your regular systems, you have your IT guys go around everybody's system, do a hard drive backup, and you hear that they're going to go and back it up at a cloud somewhere in Shangotedo, because there's a company who does cloud hosting for companies in Nigeria. The company is somewhere around Shangotedo, right? You see people having those type of backup plans, right? I've worked at an organization that you are not allowed to save even your working document. You can't save any document on your system. You have to save it on the company's drive. And you have a lot of audits being done. You have a lot of audits being done to check who has sorry, excuse me, who has a document saved on their personal systems, right? So those are some of the things that companies do. to ensure that if there's a sudden change, how do they immediately switch? And it's HR that will also guide. Now, when I said HR being a guide, a strategic guide, one of the innovations in HR that has started a long time ago that has made HR strategic is the rise of business partnering. That's why business partnering is not just I'm a HR and I'm in charge of. No, they will tell you, they really gotta stay with the sales team. You're in charge of the sales team. You need to help the sales team make sure that they are hitting and surpassing their targets. So you as the HR person sit with the sales team and can say, what are the challenges? How can we help? Because sometimes it goes beyond, do they even have the right people? Sometimes it's simply they just need that HR to coach them to say, how do we need to do it? Or what do we need to put in place to ensure it's done? Right? So that's one thing. So aligning with market expectations. Why this may be difficult for some organizations, excuse me, simply because not every organization has the same financial financial power, right? You definitely can't compare a one man business who is operating in a 3-bedroom flat to a big conglomerate that occupies 7 floors in Ikoyi, for example. However, when you want to also do some comparison, look for similar start, for instance, maybe a startup, maybe another one-man business, right? And benchmark yourself across. But what I always tell people is the conglomerates that we know today started as a one-man business 20 years ago. So it's how you start, how you develop the organization to ensure you get to that place. Because at the end of the day, you have your vision and mission statement that says to become the world-class leader in. You don't become world-class leader one day, right? So it's from these type of things, right? How did you start? How do you now align the business to what the other markets are doing, right? And then retaining and attracting specialized talent. The moment you say, this is what my business does, and you've identified the personnel that keys into the vision of that business, the onus is on the HR to say, this person is a talent to us. On no occasion can we lose this person, right? Because like the first line says, innovation objective often requires specific specific skill sets and expertise. HR understanding of these objectives is essential for attracting and retaining talents with the specialized skills needed to drive innovation in a particular industry. I have a friend. He works for one of the top leading telecoms in Nigeria. There are how many other telecoms companies? We have MTN, a lot of them. Now, when I say telecoms, I'm not limiting it to the voice guys, but also the data guys, which includes your ISPs. Now, in the whole of Nigeria, his skill sets, there are only 4 of them in the whole of Nigeria, which means that if he goes and says he wants to leave his current company to another company, they will snap him up because before they can find that skill set again, they need to go and get people outside Nigeria. In short, his skill set is so unique. In the whole world, they are not up to 100. They are not up to 100, right? So in that kind of person, for his organization, they will do anything to ensure that he stays with them and not move to a competitor, right? So that's the objective of ensuring that your innovations as an organization and as HR, right, is top notch. Okay. Now, in essence, what we're trying to say is understanding innovative objective is fundamental for HR to tailor compensation strategies effectively, ensuring they resonate with the unique needs and priorities of the organization and its industry. So what we're saying in essence is that the first thing you need to recognize is what is the organization's objective. So if the objective for the year is we must hit 500 new customers every month. 500 new customers every month will mean that you need 6,000 customers at the end of the year. So what do? Who are the people that are responsible for ensuring that we hit these customers? What enabling environment do we have as an organization to ensure that those people have the right tools to hit their targets? Now, what are the rewards we are going to give these people in the event they attain their targets? Now, what are the other things we are going to do to ensure that where they are not meeting their target, we provide enough support for them to hit the target? Because one thing we should always realize as HR people is it's not every time that people do not attain their targets that we need to punish them. Sometimes what they need is more motivation, right? Because if you have to punish every time, they will look for another company that is not doesn't rely on punitive measures, right? For when they don't hit their targets. That doesn't also mean that when you have a slacker, you don't immediately caution that person. So, what are the approaches, right, to compensation models? Smart goals. I don't need to. I'm sure from the days of of schools, everybody knows what smart goals are, right? So you need to set goals for for yourself as an organization, and they need to set goals as departments, then set goals as individuals. Now, your individual goals must align with the departmental goals. Departmental goals must align with the company goals. These goals should be clearly communicated. One advice I give as an HR business partner to my management team is we don't need to wait till the end of January to communicate the goal for the year. Most times it's advisable have your management retreat for the next year at the end of the previous year. Lock yourselves in the room. Discuss your targets for the next year. Cascade it down to your departments, which is why a lot of organizations do not use KPIs anymore. Right? A lot of organizations are using OKRs. And what are OKRs? Organizational key results. It means this is what we want to achieve. Because KPIs these days is more of operational. It's no longer a strategic. I don't think it's a strategic way of measuring performance anymore. Because you could be doing those things and be very good at it and not get a good results. Which for me, if you ask me, I prefer to use OKRs than to use KPIs. But with OKRs, the key results. So what are the results we are expecting as an organization? Now, you link pay to performance. Gone are the days where salespeople are the only guys that will say are getting performance rewards. They hit their targets, then you pay them something. No. Companies are doing profit sharing these days, and a lot of companies are really investing in profit sharing. And by the time they are sharing profit, they look at who are the star performers. Some are even doing monthly performance payouts. That who is the person who was the most innovative employee who was the most innovative employee for this month, right? And they give maybe 50,000 naira to the most innovative employee. Some may not even do anything payment. It could be that plaque that you put to say staff of the month. And most of these things are short term. You have other long term incentives like, okay, your person has been innovative as one of our best guys. By the time the person clocks 5 years, the person is open to stock options, right? Or you create a compensation around long term. Once you spend 5 years, you spend 10 years, you are eligible to getting 1.5 million, right? Next thing is balancing your risk and your reward. Now, you design a pay structure that encourages experimentation, learning, and adaptation, while also mitigating excessive and unethical behavior. You can use it by setting a reasonable range of pay variability based on the level of difficulty and uncertainty of the innovation goals, or by using a mix of fixed and variable pay components. A lot of that happens in sales. You say 30% of a sales agent is fixed guaranteed pay, 70% is variable pay. Simply because you can't just pay this person an exorbitant amount because the person is in sales. What if the person doesn't make the sales? Same thing for marketing. Same thing for most of the guys in your growth department. Because a lot of what comes in depends on their own output. Then promote collaboration and diversity. Promoting collaboration and diversity among employees by reward teamwork, cross-function, and inclusive leadership. This can be done through. Now, I work for an organization that did a lot of cross-functional responsibility. What is cross-functional responsibility? I mean, marketing, for instance. There are some days in the month where I'm not busy. I decide I want to go and work with HR to, do a few things, or work with maybe not HR, maybe some other departments. And I say that I'm actually good at these things. What you are unconsciously building is, because there's some organization where two similar departments at some point would merge and you have a group head for them. People who perform more cross-functional responsibilities are usually identified for growth and promotion. Why? Because they are going outside the box that we have placed them to deliver value in another place. So those people get more highly recognized, right? Also, if you are a team lead in your organization or you're a manager, sometimes rotate responsibilities and make some of the mid-level, junior level guys leaders on projects. That way you can identify who is likely to be a leader. One of the things I like about people you call Gen Zs, right, are the fact that they always want to take leadership positions irrespective of where you place them. They want to be part of the project. They want to be part of the team. The Gen Z these days don't want to sit down and wait for you to tell them what to do. No, they want to be part of your decision making. Right? Now, when you adopt organizational-based incentives, so that profit sharing, stock options, and in your organization, that's when you see a lot of inclusion, a lot of collaboration. Also, where you make it that everybody can earn it, that's where that healthy competition comes into place, because everybody wants to earn, everybody wants to make more money, right? Then you use things like peer feedback, mentoring, or coaching, to foster a culture of mutual support, learning, and feedback. Lastly, you ensure transparency and accountability, which is what I said. When you are communicating these things, right, you need to let everybody see why you are doing it, the reason you are doing it, what the outcome of doing these things are. You make it open. Sorry. Now, we move to generative AI in the workplace. Mr. Oluyemi, are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right. Do you mind taking this portion, please? I need to quickly
Okay.
take some. Yeah.
No problem. So thank you so much, Aderele, for what you have done so far. Okay, don't mind me, my network has been somewhat unstable. I hope I don't have that issue anymore. But confirm you can hear me. Okay, all right. So when we are talking about generative AI, AI simply means, we all know that, artificial intelligence. Okay, so we are speaking about how we can use it, how we can adapt it and bring it to the workplace. Now, over the last, say, 1 to 2 years, ChatGPT, for example, has come to the front burner. There are other platforms similar to ChatGPT, and we will realize that it has gotten different levels of adoption. some of us are now using it so much that we don't even, forgive my French, we don't even think again. Once we have any HR request at work, we just type the request into the ChatGPT or whatever, Bing or search engine, and say, please help me create so-so template, or help me draft a letter of suspension to a staff. While that may not be bad in itself for a beginner, a novice, it may not be the best. You know, I was telling people just recently that I would prefer, for example, that you type from your heart, from your experience, what you want in the ChatGPT, and then tell ChatGPT to enhance what you have written. You can give it some conditions. So you can say, for executive management consideration, please optimize the draft mail below. Or for so outcome, optimize this and that. Now, we have some data, some statistics. According to Labor Market Outlook report by CIPD, CIPD is Chartered Institute of Personnel Development of UK. You know, the data they got through a survey shows that 16% of organizations in the United Kingdom have a formal policy or guide for employees on using generative AI at work, while some organizations have banned the use of generative AI. So in UK, there are two extremes now, or two sides. One, they recognize that, look, AI, artificial intelligence, has come to stay and will aid our work, our tasks, our deliverables, but these are the processes. So for example, in the academia where I now play, you know, if you are going to use AI as part of your research tool, first and foremost, ethics of the game implies that you must recognize. So when you use AI in a portion, you must cite AI as the source, not that you are making the work of AI, you are trying to take the glory of AI. That's theft. We call it plagiarism. Now, there are another set of organizations in the same UK that have said, no, we don't want you to use AI. Now, for those of us familiar with ChatGPT, one of the things you will see when you are trying to use it is that it will tell you, there's a disclaimer, loud and clear. It is screaming, as in really screaming, that the results or the data or the information I produce may be erroneous. In other words, ChatGPT cannot be the only source of an information, and you now take it to the board, to management, and you do it like, oh, this is infallible. You may need to have several other normal sources. So don't throw your Google away, because Google will give you multiple sources of information, and you can really verify. KPMG reports assessing the impact of generative AI found that the adoption of generative AI will add 1.2% to the level of UK productivity. In other words, if your productivity is at 100, and then you do 1.2, that means you can get to 102. In other words, it means AI will enhance your productivity. It will leverage on your capabilities and improve the beauty of your outlook. Presently, employers must weigh whether allowing generative AI into the workplace presents more of an opportunity than a risk, with the aim of improving reporting and overall work output. I like that phrase, improving reporting. So imagine you can say your payroll or certain information around your pay dynamics. You can put it in AI and tell you to help you generate or draw insights. And you'll be shocked sometimes at some of the insights it will provide. Some of the insights it will provide are things you will have normally thought of if you had run the analysis, say, on Excel or through other Power BI. But it can even give you insights. And you know, one of the beautiful things about AI is that if you understand and appreciate iterative process, you can keep drilling and say, what are the uncommon insights in this data? What are the obvious insights in this data? What are the peculiar insights in this data? You can keep tweaking and it will be giving you what? Options. Again, we cannot run away from technology and we have to be conscious of it. You know, Adele, someone was asking me recently that, Oluyemi, don't you think that this AI of a thing and technology in general will one day take away people's job? My honest response is that AI will only take away the job of somebody that is not using AI. I will say that again.
Actually.
You yourself, you are not using AI. AI will take away your job. Because the moment Oluyemi is using AI, it means I'm using the intellectual capability of Oluyemi plus that of the AI. That's a combination. But if so, people who use AI become interested in AI, become interested a little, for starters, in coding, in programming. And don't forget, a programmer is not all in all. That's why for some of us that have been privileged at one point or the other, maybe the software we used in our organization, you will notice that even the people who deploy the software, they will ask for the SMEs, subject matter experts. They will ask you questions. What are you using this for? They will say, oh, they will even ask you for documentation, your SOPs, standard operating procedures, your SLAs, service level agreement, your process manuals. Why? They want to look at the flow. Sometimes, in the process of deploying technology and using artificial intelligence, they may be able to collapse certain processes. They may be able to merge certain processes. In some instances, some additional processes may be created. You know, I remember one of my friends, Frank, my brother, is not on this. I've not seen him on this call today. We are both working somewhere, and we deploy technology. Really, you won't believe it. In one particular instance, a 16-stage process became 22. You know, initially, we were assuming that technology will necessarily make the process smoother. Guess what? In some instances, it did. In some other instances, it did not. What tech did for us in some of these other instances is tech focused on the risk aspect of the work. So tech, in some instances, will say, Adele, don't let one person do these two assignments from a risk perspective, not from a capability perspective. But tech will say, no, if this person does this, where is the control? So a process maybe that two people were eager to involve with, it now turned it mandatorily to 3. Okay, so leveraging tech to drive innovation in the workplace. It fosters a culture of what? Innovation. Innovation requires a culture that encourages trial. You know, there's something we call trial and error. And in many instances, when people talk about this trial and error, they talk about it in a derogatory way. I don't know if any of us here, we've been to our mechanic before, and you stayed with the mechanic. You know, if the mechanic just comes to pick the vehicle and they return it, you may not appreciate what happened. And they are doing what we call troubleshooting. They will remove this, remove that. It's not, of course, I know today for many vehicles, you could just put a computer and it will show a light somewhere and you know directly where to go. But sometimes, based on certain customer demands, certain peculiarities, you don't always have the answer instantaneously. Everything does not have a textbook answer. Even if it has a textbook answer, you may need to combine 4 components of the textbook. Which 4? In what proportion are you going to combine it? And so that's why you in HR today will say, when you want to do something new, do it as a pilot. Why?
Yeah.
When you do it as a pilot, you can be experimental. You can fail and you can tweak it, adjust it before you go full scale, company-wide, global-wide. Even in multinationals today, they will test a product. I'll give you, if I'm not mistaken, really remind you, I think Origin was developed first in Nigeria. Origin. Yeah. And after it succeeded in Nigeria.
So it's similar, really similar to what? Yeah.
Yeah. They now took it to West Africa and so on and so forth. So that is innovation. You see, we also have to be innovative, even in compensation and benefits. And we'll get there in a bit. We'll get there in a bit. When we are talking about leveraging technology, we need to embrace a growth mindset. That how do we want to use, so, and I'm saying this respectfully, some of us want to use technology really to cheat. What do I mean by cheating? Maybe you are supposed to put 8 hours of work. You want to say, how can I use technology to do that 8 hours work in 4 hours? So that the other 4 hours I can be playing game, watching movies, cutting corner. No. What is your level of productivity today? How would I use AI, technology, whatever form? How will I use it to double, quadruple my output? That's what we mean by growth mindset. You must also use technology to say, what are our pain points? I give you, before we started using all these ERPs, I really remember way back then, when you want to go on leave, you will type a memo on a sheet of paper. You will now take it to your line manager. He will now sign. Then you will now take it to the head of department. He will now sign. You will now take it to HR. They will now sign. HR will now write a letter that they have approved the leave. They will now send it maybe to your HOD. Your HOD will now send it back to you. That process I just described now can take 3 weeks. In the process, the paper can get missing on somebody's desk. That was a pain point. That, okay, now, sometimes when you also give your line manager the leave letter to approve for you, you have to be going maybe every day. Okay, I hope you've not forgotten. But the moment it became automated, on your system, you can raise a leave request. It can be programmed that every 3 hours or every 24 hours until the responsible officer actions it, it will send like a pop-up or a reminder. You will see that you are not losing time to go and follow up with your line manager. And the line manager too cannot say you are disturbing me because it's the computer. Okay, is that prompt? So imagine in HR, if you come up with, you know, all these banks, they are using different names like chat box, chat application. Can we have something like that in HR that can say, oh, frequently asked questions on labor law, frequently asked questions, employee benefits, frequently asked questions on compensation and benefits. And as they type in those questions, the AI will generate responses, of course, based on the kind of data you will have filled into it. Okay, so we must continuously look for how to automate routine tasks and assignments. I remember back then, there was a time in my career, I used to use Excel to do pay slip. After that, I will now print out the pay slip from Excel. I will now cut the paper one by one. I will now stamp it. I will now fold it and staple it. Then I will now start giving to all the staff. Who does that today? Nobody. One after the other. Sometimes some people say, I'm not around. They'll drop it on the table for me. Who born you were? Before coded information will become public information. But today, as soon as the payment is hitting the bank, what do you get? You get emails in your official emails, advice, giving you your pay advice. We also need to provide training and support, adopting new technology. And let me quickly say this, that when we are talking about leveraging technology to drive innovation in HR, in the workplace, change management process is very key. I don't know why, but the way we are doing anything right now always looks like the easiest way. The moment we introduce, in quotes now, a seemingly better way, the already familiar way, we want to let go. So let me give you one example. I think it was Gmail. The first time they introduced a new interface. So they will give you an option that do you want to migrate to that interface or stay with the current one. For a long time, I was staying with the current one. Why? Familiarity. Then one day I said, this new one, let me even explore it. After using it for like 1 hour, I said, see what I've been missing. I wish I had quickly, but it's a mindset. And that happens to all of us. Okay. Now, some of the beautiful things with respect to using tech inclusive compensation and benefit, employee engagement is transparent. Communication is seamless. I just told you how effortlessly you can get, for example, your pay slip. Sometimes maybe some people want to go to the embassy. They'll say, give me pay slip for the last 6 months. When you are using tech, the appropriate app, employees today can ask for 6 months or 3 months. They can even specify that they want it stamped on the application, the software, the ERP. And what happens?
Yeah.
The system generates it. Nobody is disturbing HR so which means on a Saturday or a Sunday, as long as the person is connected to the domain, they can generate that same information without asking. Now, if an employee is trying to say, okay, what if I move to the next level in terms of grade? They can simulate the different grade structure in the organization and see the payout and say, okay, do I want to? So maybe they want to apply for a job at this grade. They don't need to come to HR and say, this potential opportunity, what are the likely benefits associated with? So it's transparent. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. So it's very, very, very important and fundamental. Now, speaking to linking innovation to incentives, apart from the fact that there are some generics, what I call pay generics. So let me give you an example. Some are statutory. For example, base pay or basic pay is generic. Things like maybe housing, transport, and the likes, they are relatively generic. But there are things we should and we can create. And I'll give you some examples. Some things today that look generic were initially not generic. I'll give you one example. Dressing allowance. Dressing allowance has not always been in existence. But certain organizations, and I'll mention to you, for example, take the media, TV. They are very big on dressing. Why? The people who are on TV need to look good for the global audience. So you can't just wear any kind of suit. In fact, part of what they review formally and informally, your dressing, there's a way you will dress that they will not let you go on here. They will rather substitute you with another presenter or reporter. But there are some other jobs, if you like, dress, if you like, don't dress. So even though two organizations may both have dressing allowance, the amount of money or proportion of the salary allocated to dressing in certain industries may be bigger. Question: you want your employees to be innovative. What incentives have you put in place? This is one of the reasons why today some people even have like an internal innovation fund. Internal innovation fund. What do they do? So maybe there is just hypothetical, a 2 million naira or a 10 million naira in the organization. Any employee and combination of employees, so you can form a team of 2 or 3 or 5, whatever. You can come up with a project, then you do like a case, a business case to say, this is what this is the problem identification, this is your proposals, these are the potential outcomes, this is the cost required to do like a pilot, and of course you may need to meet with an innovation committee or executive management, make your business, and then they can release maybe 2 million naira for you guys to go and work with it. Of course, they may also advise you to get additional team members. Maybe you didn't have the tech people on your team initially. You may need to, so that they do like a feasibility end to end. You have to do your proof of concept. Now, what some organizations do is that if, for example, after the trial and error stage, the stuff is developed and is beneficial to the organization, they may pay out to the members of the team, just hypothetical, maybe 10 million naira. And like Adele said, which is something I like, and which is one of the things where you guys need to take away today, especially for those of us who have some influence over management. It's not every time you'll be saying, oh, compensation is at the end of the year. You do rewards and recognition at the end of the year. Who told you I'll be here at the end of the year? Meanwhile, if you are rewarded me almost close to the time the innovation was delivered, or from the time the innovation started earning revenue to the organization, I started getting something like almost like, like a dividend. You are now taking my innovative idea like an investment. Even though I'm an employee, but you are treating me like an intrapreneur. Okay, all right. So I'll just leave it at that. But we really need to look at IT, look at technology and innovation. With respect to performance management, goal setting, career development opportunities. So an employee should be able to go to the software, to the portal and say, okay, if in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, I maintain an average of A+ rating or A- rating or B+, where do you think I will be? Because employees, talents are eager to know what the future holds for them within your organization. So they want to be able to play around with different scenarios. What if I get 2A+, 2A-, 1B+, and if they come to you and they're asking you those kind of questions, it will almost look like they are wasting your time. They are sapping your energy. Tech also is very helpful with respect to recognition. At some basic level, for example, today, you recognize people, you send a mail to all staff and say, oh, so person did so thing, and they are getting a CEO's recognition. You share it on Slack, on your different portals, and you are doing almost a sports recognition. You are no longer waiting. It doesn't stop you from doing the monthly, quarterly, biannual, or annual, but you are bringing that excitement faster and quickly to the table. That way, you are able to pick up if there are problems, you are able to pick up if there are issues, you are able to pick up if employees are happy. Take WhatsApp. Look at the poll. You can quickly deploy a poll on WhatsApp and you say, set up the options, put a deadline, say 24 hours, and employees do a quick vote. It's not every time, a colleague was asking me that, oh, in my organization, there's what do you call it? Apathy for survey. So if you check it, either the survey questions are too long or too plenty, or they are not relevant. You can do pulse survey, just 2 questions, sharp, and incentivize it. Say the first 5 entries get free tickets to so place. Okay, we need to look at some of these things. So we've spoken a lot about career. So let's just see how we can make progress in the interest of time. So we go now to inclusive compensation strategy. Okay, we've already provided a robust background. Some of the things we've spoken to so far has already addressed it. So let's look at some of the importance of tech inclusive compensation, okay, or inclusive compensation generally. Driving organizational success by connecting financial rewards directly to effort, positioning innovation as a critical driver of organizational success. This linkage reinforces the idea that contributions to innovation are not only recognized, but also directly impact the overall achievement of strategic goals. If we continue to do the same thing we are doing now, our chances of breakthrough are minimal or limited. We need to either produce new products, new service, or unlock new markets for our existing products. And that is innovation. Innovation too can be eliminating costs. I give you an example. Real life, I won't mention is a bank. I'll give you an innovative idea some employees brought to the bank and they pay them a bonus. They may know the bank. So one particular bank, let's just say
Oliemi, we are losing you. So let me just take it up. Let me take it up from here. Okay, so what Oliemi is trying to let me share my screen so that the
People in the advise the bank in that year closing by, when we say closing. Okay, so while you're trying to share your screen, when they told the
yeah.
bank about shutting down by 7,
Okay.
you in months, globally, nationwide, maintenance was so massive. Get 5% of this.
Apologies. So let me just continue from where Oliemi stopped. Okay, so if you can see my screen, please just give me the thumbs up. Okay,
Yes, can you make it full screen, please? Full screen.
it's on full screen right now.
Wow, it's not showing full screen on my side, but go ahead, no problem.
Okay. So next point is attracting and retaining top talents by aligning compensations with innovation goals makes the organization more attractive to top talent seeking dynamic and forward-thinking workplaces. Tech inclusive compensation strategies signal a commitment to recognizing and rewarding the skills and contributions that drive innovation. I said that earlier at the beginning of this presentation that talents only want to go to organizations where they realize that the reward systems. And the thing is, there's a lot of information at everybody's fingertips these days, right? It's just like when you want to apply to an organization, you go to Indeed, you go to LinkedIn, you read reviews about these companies, you hear people's testimonies about those companies, right? Which is another way technology really guides us, in our decision making. You as a potential employee, right, of an organization, how do you know that organization will benefit you? You leverage on technology, you go to Indeed, you go to LinkedIn, you go to all these other websites that talk about organizations, you read up, you see people's testimonies about the organization, and because of that, you make a decision to say, you see this place, I want to work there. You start tailoring your CV and everything till you get to that place. Why? Simply because these guys have recognized the fact that the strategies they have are good at retaining talents. And that is because they have been very objective in their decision making. They have been inclusive in their decision making. They have adapted to, changing trends. And that is why they are, top leaders in their industries. The next thing is motivating and engaging employees through actively engaging in creative and innovative endeavors. We need to, as organizations, we need to move away from top-down approach, bottom-up approaches at every time, right? That is very traditional. Right now, we should have a linear structure, which means that it doesn't mean until the MD gives a directive or until the head of department gives a directive where as a department, this is our objective for the month. You throw it open. You make everything project based. You keep people as project leaders and say, this is what I need you to do, right? I need you to be on top of your game for it. I will only guide you, right? Those things they have an effect on the psyche of employees. What you are telling the employees, I trust your judgment, I trust your capacity, and I know you deliver. And because of that, that person decides to want to go over and beyond for you, provided you are going to reward them for the work done. Then you foster a culture of innovation, which will tie to point number 3, right? When they say only a madman will keep doing the same thing every time, expecting a different result, right? So if you don't change the status quo, if you don't break the norm, you won't get a change, right? There won't be any innovation whatsoever. Then competitive advantage in talent acquisition offers tech inclusive compensation, gain a competitive advantage in attracting top talent. There are some places that you go and do interviews and you be like, I don't think I want to work for this organization, right? Simply because they put you through the grinder in a way that is tiring. Whereas there's some other people that from the start of the recruitment till when you are hired, it's so seamless. Like everything is pa 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 pa. Maybe the moment you get your first email, you are saying this interview is going to take 3 weeks. By week 1, you are going to meet with this person. You are going to by week 2, you are going to take this certain test. Week 3, and it's very seamless. Those kind of organizations, it works on the psyche of the person the talent you are trying to attract. Another thing this thing does is it reduces turnover and increases retention, where employees see that their innovation is recognized. There's better communication within the organization. They are rewarded better. What you do is your talent retention is high. Where there's an open door policy for employees to speak, for employees to churn out ideas, and those ideas are recognized, are not just kept, but they are being worked on, right? What you do is you encourage those employees to remain where they are. These guys also become your testimonies to even attracting more talents. Enhancing employee satisfaction by providing a clear and tangible link between innovation, effort, and financial rewards. I think we've said that over and over again, so we don't need to dwell too much on that. There's a part of this, I really want us to get to, yes, which is the challenges in traditional compensation models. Now, the first one is the inflexibility in recognizing innovation. Like I said earlier, the traditional way usually will recognize someone who has spent longer in the organization than someone who is actually delivering value towards the organization.
Really, right. Please move the screen, the slide. The one the audience we are looking at.
Okay, what I have on is challenges in traditional compensation models. Is that what you
That's not what is showing on the screen, no. What is showing is importance of tech inclusive compensation. So maybe it's just not moving.
What about now?
It's still not moving. You can go ahead. Maybe I will share from my hand. Just continue the conversation.
Okay. So traditional compensation models often lack the flexibility to recognize and reward unconventional contributions, because most times all you're thinking about is the person's salary. All you're thinking about is salary. You're thinking about salary. You're not thinking about other ways to compensate people for what they bring to the table. Okay. I want to hide this. Screen is blocking. Right. Now, fixed structures may not account for the dynamic and varied nature of innovative efforts, which means that right now, what you need to do is where you have your fixed salaries, you need to also create a variable template. Now, your variable template is not just variable that works for the people in your sales team, for instance. It will also affect every other person within the organization. Do you want to do it as a profit sharing? Do you want to do it as what's the contributions people have brought towards the organization on a monthly basis? Or do you want to do it as what department has generated the most revenue for us at a given period, and then you do a lump sum payment to that department and leave it at the discretion of the department head to share, right? That's what it means to be flexible. Now, another thing is there's an emphasis on tenure over merit, which was the first point I mentioned. Traditional models may prioritize tenure and seniority, overlooking the merit-based recognition required for innovative contributions. So we need to move away from that. Employees may feel undervalued if their innovative efforts are not appropriately acknowledged. Now, let me just take a brief to give an example here. Now, there used to be a slide I used to share with my mentees back then. It was called Oranges and Apples. And it had to do with, recognizing merit over longevity. And it was a story of this guy who had been in the organization for 2 years, hadn't been promoted and hadn't gotten, a salary increase. And he walked into his manager's office and he said, I've been here for 2 years. I haven't gotten promoted and I haven't gotten a salary increase. Bayo joined this company 6 months ago and has gotten a promotion and a salary increase. I'm here, I'm here at the office before Bayo. I'm one of the last to close. And the manager called him and said, you know what? You are right, but do something for me. I feel like eating oranges. Do you mind getting me some from the woman who sells fruits down the street? This guy goes and comes back and says, oh, Oga, the woman doesn't have oranges. Here's your money. And the boss says, thank you very much. And says, call me Bayo. And Bayo comes into the office. He says, Bayo, please, can you go down the street and get me oranges from the woman down the street? And the guy is confused that, is this Oga mad? And he comes back and says, comes back with bananas and apples and says, Oga, there were no oranges. However, she had bananas and she had apples. Seeing that you want oranges, you want fruits, you probably are lacking vitamin C, right? This banana and this apple could do the same thing. Banana also has potassium, which is going to give you energy to continue for the rest of the day. Apples will also help with your eyes, seeing that you've been looking at your screen all day. You can have both options, or you can take one and I return the rest here and drops it on the man's table and goes. And the boss looks at the other guy and says, do you see the reason why? He says, what you do is the barest minimum. You are not going over beyond. However, Bayo, on the other hand, if I tell him to do A, he doesn't see that there is one direction to A. There are other reasons why, there are other factors you can use to get an answer, right? Which is what this model, this is why, the traditional model of reward needs to go. This is why you need to reward people for their contributions rather from their longevity. Next thing is inhibiting risk taking. Now, this is, something that we see every time when you're doing anything innovative, right? Because with innovation, what you're doing basically is try and error, right? But what traditional model does is penalize failure. It does is penalizes failure, meaning when you come up with a new thing and that thing fails, you make you want to punch that person. As against saying, you know what opportunities can we learn from this failure, and what can we do to try again and get better results, right? And because of that, people have this fear of negative, of if I try and I fail, I will be punished. Lastly is the slow response to market changes, right? Every year there's a new innovation, either in HR or whatever industries we find ourselves in, right? And if we don't immediately adapt to those changes, we are going to fail. We are setting ourselves up for failure. Whereas they're supposed to be doing regular checks, regular audits, right? Improvements on your technologies, testing, market testings. Okay, let's do something new. Will it work for the market? Will it work for us? Right. Now, this lag in response can hinder the organization's ability to remain competitive. Why markets seem to close down early, or why you see that there's a new product that comes into the market and all of a sudden the one who has been in the market for long would go, it's simply because they've not adapted to change. Now, failure to motivate entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship simply means you are giving people responsibilities outside why you have employed them. When I mentioned that Gen Zs like to be more inclusive, right? It's simply because they want to be part of, the decision making. Traditional models just tell you it's top down, top down, top down, top down. But now, where we are right now in, the business world, is that everybody needs to be inclusive. Undermining cross-functional collaboration. Now, traditional compensation model often focuses on individual performance metrics as against collaboration. Before it's the person who contributes more is the person they will reward more. And because of that, you have a lot of people hoarding information. one of those things in the 9-box grid, there's a particular part of the 9-box grid that says there's a particular person who has his high performance, low potential. Those are the people that are very traditional. They just want to perform. When say any other thing after their performance, they are not ready to give it. And they hoard a lot of information. Whereas people who collaborate more, you even learn, because in the process of sharing knowledge, you learn from someone else and you enhance productivity. Now, limited recognition to non-monetary rewards. Now, traditional models may place excessive emphasis on monetary rewards, overlooking the importance of non-monetary recognition for innovative contributions. If you think money is the only way some people deserve to be rewarded, then you are wrong. Some people, it's not even money anymore. Some people say, I don't like my job title. It doesn't make me feel like I am doing much. All they want is that title change, right? Some it's, I don't want to share offices again. I want to have my own corner space. Some is simply that at the end of the month, HR broadcast top 10 performance. Some is that I did well. The following Monday, HR sends breakfast straight to me. Or even the one that I feel that every organization should at least invest in. This year, they're going to pay for my professional membership. You see these things. Yeah, some of them you spend money to get them, but some of them you don't even need the money. Especially the one where you place the person's picture to say the person was outstanding for the month of January. Right now, resistance to change and adaptation. Traditional compensation structures can foster resistance to change, as employees may be accustomed to established reward norms. They don't know what they've been doing in the last 2 years. In the last they don't do it. Add only 5,000 to it. Change their minds. Add 10,000. Don't even add 10,000. Add 50,000 and see what happens. Add 50,000 and see what happens. Or just do something that has never been done before. Everybody starts jostling for that cake. Then mismatch with modern work structures. Traditional models may not align with contemporary work structures, especially in industries where remote work, flexible schedules, and project-based collaborations are prevalent. In the last 5 years, we've heard of job descriptions we've never heard of before, and you're wondering, people go to school to study these things. And these are simply adaptive, jobs that just by noticing an opportunity in a problem and you solve it, you create a new niche for yourself. One of them is social media marketing. Or there's another one they call them community managers. No, but they don't study community management in school. You don't study social media in school. Okay, maybe now there are now courses that are around social media. But some of these things are not things you study in school. Some of these things are things that just by noticing trends, noticing customer behavior, noticing internal policies, you can easily create a job role around those things, around people, all right? And say, do you think this is something you can do, right? And create a good pay for them and pay them for it. Now, leveraging technology for compensation management. First thing is your data analytics for informed decision making. See, we can never not talk about data. For instance, if you go and meet your boss and say, I want a raise, he will ask you why. You have data to back why you need a raise. Oh, in the last quarter, I saved the company X amount because these were the innovative things I did. Oh, I brought up my turnaround time for hiring some key roles was less than the previous months. Previous months, maybe I was doing it in 6 weeks. My turnaround time now is now 4 weeks. the data has to be there. If you are going to fire people tomorrow, are you going to fire someone that because the manager doesn't like him? That's going to be very subjective. But when the data is there to say these are the things that have been done, based on this, these are the people we need to get to. Your HRIS is all the data you need, provided you have, especially if you have the the full modules, if it does your start to finish, your whole life cycle, the HRS does the full life cycle. All you need, there's a part in the setting that tells you analytics. All you need to do is tweak it in how you want it. Real-time performance tracking. You see, that's why when I talked about OKRs, now with when you have if you have a performance management tool and you type in OKRs, especially if your OKRs have to do with numbers, and for every time you're meeting those targets, you're imputing your numbers. As a line manager, you don't even need to wait for the appraisal cycle to just go and check one person to say, this guy has hit his target for the quarter and we're halfway through. Reward the person even before that time. You can easily track continuous feedback mechanism. Do you do monthly feedback? Do you have a channel where your either your customers or your employees can give feedback based on some of the trends or some of the things you do? Now, one thing about change management is when you communicate a change, you actually monitor the process of that change. So do you even give room for people to talk about the change to see, okay, this change we've tried to implement, do we continue? Do we stop? Or do we improve? Enhanced accuracy and precision. This exposure technology minimizes errors in compensation calculations, right? If you are still using Excel to calculate salaries as against having, an information system that does salary calculation automatically for you, all you just need to do, put the person's gross figures. At the end of every month, all you just do is just hit a button to calculate, the pensions, the pay, any other statutory deduction, net payment, and then disburses into people's accounts. Because the less human interaction in daily operations, right, it enhances precision and perfection. Because the more you have in human interactions in your operations, the likely to have more errors. And then personalized compensation packages. Now, this illustrates how technology enables the customization of compensation packages. Now, this is the part I really wanted to talk about, where my vision when it comes to compensations and benefits is where everybody has different compensation packages. And let me give you an explanation. So I'm hiring 2 HR associates for my organization. And the budget, which is, when I say budget, I'm talking of total cost to company, which will include, salary, HMO, every other thing that has to do with the employee. And I'm saying these 2 associates, their cost to company should not exceed 15 million. However, I will sit both of them in the room and say, our policy says you determine how you want your 15 million to be disbursed. What percentage are we going to, of your 15 million, do you want to allocate to salary? What allocation of your 15 million do you want to allocate to HMO? What percentage of your 15 million do you want to allocate to company benefits like birthday celebrations, housing, and whatnot? So you could to get to a situation where you have 2 people, both on 15 million. But this person feels, I have more health challenges, right? So let me apportion a large portion of my compensation to HMO treatments. Or I want to apportion a large portion of my own salary to investment opportunities. So you tailor it per person. But at the end of the day, when you are doing your CTC, both are earning 15 million. That is the level we want to start getting. And that happens in some companies in America right now, where they walk into HR and say, I think I want to do I want to rejig my compensation. I think I earn well, and I want to take out 5% of my earnings and move it into, because the company does investment, and I want the company to invest 5% of my compensation into investments. So that is the level we are getting to right now, at the compensation world. Now, automation of compensation processes, which is what I said, reduce the human interactions when computing your payroll, right? There are a lot. There are a lot out there right now. Some banks are even creating, I know there's My Salary, there's Bento, quite a number of them. These guys, all you just need to do is feed them the data of your compensation structure into their system, and they'll help you break it down. Now, you need to also understand that your compensation needs to align, because you can also, if your company isn't a tech company, for instance, that is doing services that is making more money, right? Do you just start paying people ridiculously? Or if you are earning in, if your revenue is in naira, and you say you want to start paying people in dollars, you will close down fast, right? Now, employee engagement through transparency. This, like Oluyemi said earlier, if how many of us in our organizations will go and meet an employee and say, do you know how many levels are here? Or do you know what your next step is within the organization? Many of them will tell you no. So I'm an associate today. I'm an associate one, I'm an associate two. Do you even have those type of steps within the organization? Okay, I move from associate. What do I become? Many organizations don't even have that clear-cut explanation. I work for an organization that during what you call it, onboarding, they will, for like a whole day, they're talking about your levels, a whole day, and they'll tell you how to get to those levels, what your performance needs to be to attain those levels. You will see it. So by your third year in the organization, you'll be thinking, back then they told me that by my third year, if I have this rating, I should be here. That way, you can challenge it and say, but HR, you told me that if I'm in this place for this long, sorry, if I'm in this place for this long, that I'll get to this level. How come I haven't gotten it? And that's because you've created data, and you've not only created data, you've also created an open environment for people to see this information, and then compliance and security measures ensure that things like data security, compliance are there too. Once there's a breach in your systems, identify where that breach is from and close it up immediately. Now, creating a compensation model for innovation. A compensation model that encourages innovation should strike a balance between the risk and rewards associated with the work. Entrepreneurs and initial investors who launch a new company take on the risk of losing their work. If the venture succeeds, they are rewarded for that risk handsomely. In a mature organization, employees might not be taking a risk with their own savings, but they are taking future compensation and possibly career stability. Effective strategies to reduce this risk will include creating a safety net by implementing a structure for employees to move from high-risk innovation projects back to the core business, reward risk-taking through bonuses, and creating reward programs that recognize innovation within all elements of the company. So basically what this talks about is, if you are a comp and ben specialist, right, Your compensation strategy should be one that employees will feel comfortable about. The management the management themselves will feel comfortable approving for such compensations, right? In a way that everybody would benefit. There is no risk. Your compensation is guaranteed. You would reward people for the work they are doing, and you will create other programs aside the guaranteed pay that they will be getting, right? Then other things will now include performance bonuses, which is they're rewarding someone for a job well done aside from the salaries. Stock options. For stock options, most companies, their stock options usually tied more to longevity than performance. But where people realize that if I spend up to a certain period, I would get stuck in that organization. It's a retention strategy for them. Innovation scorecards, which means that you're creating like leaderboard type things within the organization to say, for every time someone does anything innovative, they get certain scores. And then at the end of the period, you see who is on your leaderboard. Long-term incentives, like your service rewards, 5 years in service, 6 years in service, 7 years in service, and then other rewards that come with it. And then customer satisfaction, which means that for every time a customer gives a new rating or a star rating, then everybody who is involved in that project gets rewards. So that can also be tied to your performance bonuses. Now, what are the things that we've called personalized rewards? Now, the benefits of personal rewards and packages. One, it creates employee satisfaction. Personal rewards cater to individual preferences. Now, remember, I said it's how people decide they want to spread their whole payment and not just what HR is saying they're going to pay. So what they're doing is they're catering to that person's individual preferences, thereby enhancing overall employee satisfaction. Because at the end of the day, he's the one that decides how he wants to utilize it. And then there's retention. The customized packages contribute to employee loyalty, reducing turnover as individual feels more valued. Now, individual contributions to innovation. Recognition of unique contributions. Personalization allows HR to recognize and reward the unique contribution each employee makes to the innovation. Tailoring rewards for innovative efforts reinforces a culture that values and encourages creativity. Organization offering personalized incentives for innovation gain a competitive edge in attracting and retaining top talent, simply because you are doing something that no other organization is doing. There's something called EVP, employee value proposition. And what's an employee value proposition is, so if I come and work for you, what do I get? Because some people don't want to see the salary. They want to see other things they are giving them aside salary. Right? So what is the value proposition for me if I'm going to be bringing my skill sets to your organization? Data analytics. Technology enables HR to analyze individual performance data and identify specific contributions to innovation. Remember, we said it, the data that you keep churning out from your analytics will help you make those decisions. AI algorithms. AI algorithms can access the impact of an employee's innovation on overall organizational success. There's a software I'm trying to remember where the whole life cycle of the employee and things like appraisal discussions, when you type them into an employee's profile, there's an AI icon that when you tap on it, the AI icon, especially if you've had historical data on that employee, can actually give you a prediction of, oh, with this employee, with everything that's done so far, if you don't do this or that, you may lose the employee. Well, I think I'll look for that. I'll look for that software and I'll share it on a later date, right? But basically, it's a predictive software that can easily identify employee needs based on the historical data that's been fed into it.
Is this success factors?
No, I'm talking about the personalized rewards.
Yes, I say, is that software not success factors? Success factors.
Success factors, yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying success factors, but once I get the name, I'll share the name. But basically, what it does is an HRIS, right? It's an HRIS. So once you do your onboarding, so even the employee themselves can drop notes on their own pages. The managers can drop notes on their own pages. So at appraisal or even before appraisal, what that software does it takes every information on Aderele, right, and gives a prediction that based on all the information that we fed on Aderele's profile, Aderele is happy with this organization. Aderele will stay within the organization. Is likely to stay in the organization for another 6 years, provided XYZ. Or you see, oh, Aderele has left a series of complaints in the last 6 months. Aderele may be silent quitting, maybe quiet quitting at this point. We need to look into trying to retain Aderele. That is what that software does. So, agile responses to employee needs. Technology facilitates real-time feedback on employee contributions. So, like I said, HRSs these days, you have notes where you can drop notes for your employees. Oliemi, you did a good job on the last project that we had. This is just a thank you and a good job notes. Some employees just want to see that. And that's what they're doing is they're leaving real-time feedback for jobs well done. Sometimes it could just be in the previous organization, you see a thumbs up icon permanently on the person's signature, simply because the manager has said this person has done a good job in the last project. Because of that, there should be a permanent thumbs up, icon by that person's email signature. Flexibility in compensation structures. Technology allows for the customization of incentives, offering a mix of monetary and non-monetary rewards tailored to individual, preferences. Enhancing employee experience, which is facts. When you do things that are not conventional, what you are doing is you're enhancing the person's employee experience. You want that employee feels valued. That employee feels like this company is doing something I've not heard before and wants to go ahead and tell other people. So it's a personalized touch because you're doing something that is tailored to this person and not to the whole organization. Then you are addressing diverse employee demands. Remember, in an organization, you have different people, right? You have, your introverts, you have your extroverts, you have your choleric, but because you have identified each person's needs, right? And also, okay, you also have, people with different tribes and, religious backgrounds, but because you've tailored everything to suit that person, right? You can write a whole novel on your diversity and inclusion policy because you are putting things like that into place. And then you're aligning with organization values. Because what's subconsciously addressing individual needs creates subconsciously identifying individual needs creates satisfaction on that employee, and in turn makes that employee deliver extra value towards the organization. Remember, happy employee, happy customer, happy employee, happy organization. Then strategic retention of key talents. You use that to identify your key talents. And because you are aiding them, you are aiding their employee experience, right? You already create a pipeline of talent for your succession. Now, what we do at the end of this thing, or what's the end result is we are ensuring fairness and equality, right? So the challenge of bias in traditional model has been killed, right? The role of technology will also eliminate those biases. There's transparency because you have publicly put on your employee domain that this is how our compensation policies are. These are the things you need to do to earn certain things. I don't know. Not all organizations have like a central knowledge system where people can go and read up everything about the organization and what are the things that are beneficial to them. Then it's continuous monitoring of equity, which means that every time, you can see, okay, it seems that this side is earning more than this side. What can we do to ensure that there's a balance? Then you are ensuring equal opportunities. It means you are not being biased towards a certain cadre of people. Everybody can benefit and share from it. And then you are mitigating unconscious bias. So that is what, tech-driven compensation initiative does. They are mitigating biases. Also, there's the legal compliance part of things, right? Also, you're not doing things that are outside, what the statute says, what the law says. Ensure that, for instance, you're making the statutory remittances to, the relevant statutory regulatory bodies, right? And you're also communicating to these people that we are making these payments on behalf of you. Then employee trust and engagement. You're creating trust within the employees, and then organizational diversity and inclusion. Now, let's quickly talk about go through the benchmarking and market insights. Retention strategies based on market data. One thing I did in a former workplace was understand what percentage of our revenue needed to go to compensations and benefits, right? And every quarter I used to analyze the data. And at some point, I noticed that for the longest of time, where I was expected to spend 20% on our revenue on compensation on benefits, we're doing between 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 13. And what that made me do was do a market research to see, okay, these are the category of employees I have, this is how much I'm paying them. Am I paying market rates? I was paying below market rates. But because I had the data to tell me that even my benchmark, I wasn't even paying up to my benchmark, it gave me wiggle room to make a case for salary increases across board. Simply because I had the tech, I had the data to guide me in making that decision. I was also able to use that to adapt to market dynamics. That same organization, I noticed that because it was an organization where our support staff who were more of offshore guys, they were contract employees, were going to our competitors a lot, simply because our competitors were paying better rates than we were paying. So immediately we have to look at it that we can't lose these guys. Losing these guys will mean we losing contracts. And immediately we had to change the compensation of our offshore guys, simply because we noticed our competitor was paying and was even very marginal. So all we just did was add more on top of it. Then ensuring internal equity. You need to ensure that, especially if you are employing two people for the same role, you are ensuring that there's equity in their payments. Yes, one person might be coming from a place where had been earning so much, but another person might be coming because the person has, more experience. So if at all both of them were to meet each other and find out that there's a disparity in their payments, you know why one person is earning over the other. And simply you can defend those cases. Then also customizing compensation strategies. Now you need to tailor the industry norms, and benchmarking technology assists HR in aligning compensation strategies with industry norms. So you also need to understand the industry you are playing in. You can't say because in the bank they are paying their entry level 300K. You too, you want to pay your entry level 300K. Meanwhile, you are probably in a health sector. You will burn out before your time. So you need to understand the industry you're playing in before you even create a compensation structure. Now, when you have a good compensation structure, right, it helps you with your workforce planning. You are more strategic with your hiring. You don't just say because you have extra money, you just want to keep hiring people. At some point, you notice that your compensation is bloated, right? And then you now start letting people go. Then enhanced accuracy in benchmarking. It helps you with benchmarking, what is the norm? What are the rates within our organization? Are we competitive out there? It also helps you with your decision making, and it also helps you with your talent acquisition. So, in conclusion, I'll quickly read through this. In today's rapidly evolving workplaces, technology plays an increasing pivotal role. As we navigate this digital era, the demand for compensation strategies that foster innovation has become paramount. By connecting compensation to innovation as a driver of organizational successes, companies can attract and retain top talent. Understanding the varied nature of innovation objectives across industries is crucial. HR's comprehension of these goals is instrumental in tailoring compensation strategies effectively, aligning them with the unique needs and aspirations of each organization. Traditional compensation model faces challenges in promoting innovation, which we've said. If you are still doing things the old way, you cannot be progressive, right? So you need to be flexible. The solution lies in leveraging technology for compensation management. Technologies like AI and data analytics offer better insights, enabling real-time performance tracking and evaluation. Personalized rewards facilitated by technology enhance employee satisfaction and motivation, particularly when tailored to individual contributions to innovation. And finally, benchmarking tools powered by technology keep HR updated on industry compensation trends, aids in the maintenance of competitive compensation structures. Lastly, tech-inclusive compensation not only enhance employee engagement, but also motivates through the recognition of innovative efforts. In conclusion, aligning compensation with innovation is essential for success in the modern workplace, where technology acts as a key enabler in shaping effective and dynamic compensation strategies. So, on that note, we are ready to take questions.
Thank you so much, Adere Amosun. That was very insightful. Thank you. You literally took the whole session. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying there. We would like to take 2 or 3 questions or comments. If you have any, please raise your hands quickly. We'll recognize you, make your contributions, comments, or ask your questions, or if you prefer to type in the chat box, we'll also do that. I think I see a hand up. That is yes. Perhaps that will be the only contribution or question we'll take. Dolapo, you are now a co-host. You can unmute and speak.
Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much. I feel I'm fortunate to bump on this notification late. I got it late this night, and it has been a very, very good session. A very good, insightful one. I appreciate that. So my question, not to waste our time, is into compensation and benefits at the moment for some years now, and going into an associate level. I'm trying to get how best to source for data when I want to do market analysis. I've done it for a while now. I've been doing it for a while, sorry, but I get this data from unreliable sources, and I just feel if I can get a concrete, probably website or database where I can get reliable data for markets, market salary ranges and everything like that.
Okay, so that's usually a very, very difficult thing for people to do, getting benchmarks and whatnot. But the easiest these days is with KPMG. Um, KPMG has a unit where you can just tell them that whenever they are doing salary benchmarking, you want your company to be a part of it. So what they do is by the time they do a benchmarking every year, they will send you a sheet, you fill up the sheet, and then they send you uh, where you fall within the compensation benchmark of other people within your industry. When you do that, it's usually free. But if you want KPMG to do one for you, like you contact KPMG, I want to know if I am competitive in the market. Can you help me with a benchmark survey and a report? I think as at the last time my company did it, we paid about 2 million naira just for them to launch, that survey.
Yeah, don't mention organization or amount. This session is uploaded.
All right, yes. Okay, so yeah. So there's also some charge that they'll get from you, right? For doing that.
So what he's saying in essence is that you are best by buying it. They can either do customize where you commission any of the consulting firms. They will, because of you, reach out to your comparators, and they will agree timelines, 8 weeks, 3 months, 6 weeks, depending on your requirement and the kind of benefits and compensation. They will administer the survey and they will give you your report. They can even show you where you are. Are you in the percentile, top 10, 25%, median, are you, bottom, and so on. They can even now give you suggestions and tips as to, based on your organizational goals and objectives, how you want to position yourself for it. The other way, you're already using it, which is gathering data yourself. And on a lighter note, even though it's serious, most recruiters, this is how they get some of their data. That's why when they are interviewing candidates, they want to know how much you are earning. They put all this data together and sort of have a sense as to how much different professionals in their industry and so on and so forth. But the challenge too is that sometimes some of the candidates are not completely honest, and you cannot rely totally, completely on the data they give you. But if your organization can afford it, and if you engage with the consulting firms, you may be able to come up with a pricing that will help you. I also like the fact that he also showed a pathway. It's not always free. Some may be free, but it's not always free. You may pay. But if you are part of a commission survey for your industry by any of these stuff, even if you are paying, it will be reduced. You understand? But that one, you cannot tell them that the report must be ready in 2 months or in 1 month. They will take their own time and pace. But the beauty of that is they typically will get all the key stakeholders in the industry. Before they get all of them to submit their data, and then before they analyze and then come up with insights, it may take a while. But that is what also waiting for, because the degree of reliability. But if you are also an organization that is not local, if you play in the international scene, some websites may help you. I'll give you one or two. I think they really has also mentioned one or two of them today, like Glasgow. There are some, they will be able to say, oh, project management, this is like the average industry standard, so HR manager, average industry standard, even if it is not completely accurate, or if they've not aged the data. Some data might have been put there in 2021, and this is 2023. But at least it will give you a reasonable idea so that you'll be able to. Then some associations too, let me mention one or two. Maybe you have project management, they'll tell you that this is the going rate for this caliber of project manager or projects, and that will also give you an idea. All right. Thank you so much for your question, and thank you, Adelele, for the insights you shared on with respect to that question. We'll be able to take just one more, if any. Just one more, if any. So let's just wrap up this conversation by recapping one or two things. Thank you everyone for joining. Today, we've tried to provide an overview of inclusive compensation and benefits strategy we can consider. We leveraged a lot on technology and on data, showing that we get information with respect to compensation and benefit, not just based on our gut feeling, but using reliable data, both from the organization historical and also looking at what obtains in the industry so that we can make informed decisions. We also reiterated the fact that more than ever before, personalized incentives, personalized compensation and strategy has come to stay. And the reason, among others, is that the needs of the employees are different. A man that is a bachelor is different from a man that is married. So even the same employee, as his status in life is evolving, what he valued 2 years ago might have changed 2 years later. And you have different generations in the workplace. I'll give one example, even as a rapport. There are employees today who will say their housing allowance, pay me once as upfront. Some will say, no, my housing allowance be paying me every month. Take leave allowance. Some people say, my leave allowance, pay me my leave allowance when I am going on leave. Why? I want to carry, forgive my English, I want to carry the leave money and use it for vacation. Some people will say, look, spread that leave allowance equitably over 12 months and be paying me. Do you understand what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with upfront. There's also nothing wrong with monthly payout. What you now do is that say, staff, if you want your upfront housing, raise your hands or fill a form. The people who want upfront housing, you pay them upfront. The people who want it every month, you pay. That way, the two extremes or two sides, you have satisfied their needs. Don't be fixated and say, no, it is either all employees get upfront housing or either all employees get monthly housing. It is not a one-size-fits-all. And you may need to be flexible. There will be new candidates that when they are negotiating, don't be shocked when you send them their offer letter, they can come back to you and say, don't you have this kind of allowance or this kind of, don't be rigid, especially if you also have an influence over management, you know. And at the end of the day, we will have employee contracts that will not be homogeneous. Daily, I hope I'm recapping some things you said. It won't be homogeneous because we are not all the same. And employees can also come back 1 year, 2 years later down the line and say, oh, this is my contract. Can we recraft it? Can we adjust this? Can we move this from this portion to that portion? I'm not talking about increment now. That too can come in. So I don't find all this requesting, especially if you're having employees who have gone abroad and who have come back. They are more open-minded with respect to what their contracts of employment should look like, the kind of compensation and benefit. Don't be shocked if some employees come and say, look, out of my salary, can you be paying my children's school fees directly for me? Please, this kind of request will come more and more. And there's nothing wrong with HR coming up. So let me give you one of the places I worked. There's one allowance we used to pay. We used to pay it in September. You know why? October is the resumption of school year. So we call it children resumption support. It's a once in a year bullet. Do you guess what? Staff used to like it. Why? Especially staff that are married or staff that have children. If you have 2, 3 children here, you know what October is for you. All the schools will resume and schools will require that you pay for the first time. So we're just saying, just like 13 months today for quite a number of organizations has come to stay. Some are even doing 14 months. You can do compensation around Valentine. You can do, I used to work in a place, part of the compensation package was, what do you call it, rams during Salah. So don't be fixated. You can do, look at, profile your employees. What are the different categories? What are the special things you can do for them? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been very interesting. I'm glad and Aderele Amosun were able to do this. Like he said, you know, I was invited somewhere to come and speak on this topic, and I felt that was a closed session, and Aderele Amosun was very instrumental with developing the paper that we shared there. And I said, both of us agreed that, come on, let's put this in the public domain. Let's come to the HR mentorship, rub minds and share. We'll continue this conversation offline. Ladies and gentlemen, this year is going to be beautiful. This year is going to be very productive. We as a people, we are tougher people, and we will crunch results and outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, see you at the other side. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Adreli.
Thank you very much, sir. Good night, sir.
Hope you can still meet part of the party.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.